There's a certain kind of silence that shows up before a family cuts someone loose. Not loud, not dramatic. More like a door closing in another room, and everyone pretending they didn't hear it. Revenge Pulse has heard a lot of stories about betrayal. This one starts with something small on a screen, and it lands like a verdict. Julia Kensington was a public school educator in North Carolina, the kind who stayed late to help kids who'd already been labeled behind. What happened to her matters because it wasn't one big blow. It was the slow decision, made without her in the room, that she no longer counted. This is where she begins. My phone vibrated at 11:47 p.m., and I almost ignored it. I'd been on the couch with my laptop open, half grading, half staring. There was a stack of student reading logs on the coffee table, the kind with smudged pencil marks and little desperate notes from parents at the bottom. When I saw Claire Novak's name, my stomach tightened before I even answered. "Julia," Claire whispered. Her voice sounded like she'd stepped into a closet to make the call. "I'm sorry. I didn't know how else to tell you." "Tell me what?" There was a pause, a small breath. "Check your WhatsApp." I sat up. The room felt colder than it had a second ago. "What about it? Just open it. Please." I opened the app, thumb moving on autopilot, and searched for the family group. The thread wasn't there. Not buried. Not muted. Gone. I typed the name anyway. Kensington family. Nothing. My throat went dry. "Claire, I have screenshots." She cut in, and I heard paper shifting, like she'd printed them out or written something down. I took them as soon as I saw it. "I'm sending them now." The first image came through, then another. At the top was my mother's name, Margot Kensington. Mother's Day brunch at the Pinecrest Club. 11 a.m. sharp. Family only. Then the next line. "One child builds something real. One chose teaching. Please don't bring Julia up tomorrow." Under that, my brother Oliver's reply sat there like it had been practiced. "Understood." I stared so hard my eyes started to ache. My thumb hovered over the screen, like if I pressed it in the right place, the words would rearrange into something kinder. Claire's voice came through the speaker, shaky. "I know it's cruel. I know. I couldn't let you find out later like it was normal." I swallowed and tried to speak, but my mouth didn't cooperate at first. "How long has this been a thing? A while?" Another pause. "They talk about you like you're a topic, not a person." I didn't cry. That's the part people don't believe. My face stayed dry. My hands didn't shake. I just felt myself go very still, like something inside me sat down and refused to stand back up. A quiet note from Revenge Pulse, watching from the edge the moment she read that message. Her voice didn't rise. It dropped. I looked at my living room again, the papers, the laptop, the mug with cold tea in it, and it all looked stupidly normal. "Claire." I managed, and my voice sounded flat, like it belonged to someone else. Did anyone say anything back? Anything at all? No. Her answer was immediate. Nobody pushed back. I kept staring at the word "understood" until it stopped looking like a word. "I'm going to save these," I told her, not as a plan, more like a fact. "Okay," Claire breathed. "Okay. I'm here. Thank you." After we hung up, I didn't call my mother. I didn't call Oliver. I didn't draft a message and delete it. I didn't do any of the things I'd been trained to do as the family peacemaker. I created a new folder on my phone. Receipts. Then, I turned the screen face down on the couch like it had done something wrong, and I sat there listening to the quiet of my apartment. Somewhere, my mother was probably laying out her pearls for brunch, and my name had already been removed from the table. The next morning, my mother called like nothing had happened. Her name lit up my phone while I was brushing my teeth. I let it ring until it stopped. A minute later, a text appeared. "You're probably busy this morning. Call me later." No mention of the brunch. No mention of the message. That was her style. If she didn't name it, it didn't exist. By noon, I was driving to the grocery store, trying to focus on a list in my head. Milk, bread, apples for the kids who forgot snacks. Normal things. The phone rang again. This time, Oliver. I pulled over before answering. "Hey," he started, easy, like we'd spoken yesterday. "Mom said you might be tied up. I just wanted to make sure everything's fine. Everything." That word did a lot of work in our family. I saw the messages. I told him. Silence. Not shock. Not confusion. Just space. "Look," he finally said, voice lowering. "You know how she gets before events. She likes things clean." "Clean," I repeated. "You're taking it personally." I stared through the windshield at a woman loading groceries into a minivan. She laughed at something her kid said. Life kept going. "You build something real." "Jules," Oliver continued, "that's always been your thing. Teaching is fine, but this was a business crowd." I laughed once, short and sharp, then stopped. "So I don't fit. That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant." He sighed, the sound he used when negotiations stalled. "You're good with kids. You always have been. Mom just didn't want awkward questions." We noticed how calmly he said that. Not cruel, efficient. I felt my chest tighten, not from anger, but from recognition. This wasn't a fight. It was policy. "I'm going to hang up now," I said, surprised at how steady it sounded. "Julia." I ended the call. I sat there for a minute with my hands on the steering wheel, breathing in through my nose, out through my mouth, the way I taught anxious students to do. Back at the apartment, I opened my laptop and started grading again. Comments in the margins, encouragement, try again. By late afternoon, I blocked my mother's number, then Oliver's. I didn't announce it. I didn't explain. I just stopped answering. And for the first time, the quiet felt like something I'd chosen. The thing about being left out is that it rarely starts with being kicked out. It starts with being moved. Thanksgiving the year before, my mother's dining room looked exactly the way it always did. Linen tablecloth, place cards in neat handwriting, candles spaced just far enough apart to look intentional. Not festive. I arrived early with a casserole dish still warm through the towel. Mom glanced at it, then at me. "Oh, good. You brought something," she said. "Set it over there." Over there turned out to be the folding table in the corner, the one usually reserved for nieces, nephews, and whoever spilled juice the fastest. I stood there for a second, dish in my hands, not sure I'd heard her right. "I think there's been a mistake," I said quietly. "My place card." She was already adjusting the silverware at the main table. We ran out of space. "You don't mind, do you? You're always so good with kids." I looked down. My name was written on a card in marker. Not ink. Marker. Oliver was pouring wine nearby. He glanced over, then away. "It's just for tonight," he added, casual. "Don't make it weird." I carried the dish to the small table. Plastic cups, paper napkins with cartoon turkeys. Someone had left a crayon under one of the plates. I sat. Dinner moved on without me. Conversations floated over in fragments. Contracts. Supply shortages. A joke about how Oliver's company survived a slow quarter because he understood risk. My mother leaned toward him, smiling. "You've always had a head for business." Later, as plates were cleared, she gestured vaguely in my direction. "Julia's school is still doing reading things." "Right." I nodded. "We're piloting a literacy intervention. It's helping." "That's nice," she said, already turning back. Children need structure. We noticed how quickly the moment closed. No follow-up. No curiosity. After dessert, Oliver stopped by my table, loosening his tie. "You okay?" "I'm fine." He nodded like that settled it. Good. You know, Mom. She just likes order. Order. Another word that explained everything and nothing at the same time. When I left, my casserole dish was empty, scraped clean, sitting by the sink. No one said goodbye. In the car, I gripped the steering wheel harder than necessary, jaw tight, eyes fixed on the driveway until the house disappeared in the rearview mirror. That was the night I understood I wasn't being pushed away. I was being sorted. I didn't talk to anyone for 2 days after Thanksgiving. Work helped. Kids still needed help sounding out words. Parents still sent emails that started polite and ended tired. There was comfort in being useful where no one questioned why I belonged. On Sunday night, Claire called again. I keep thinking about you, she said. About how quiet you were. I'm fine, I told her. The words came out automatically. There was a pause. I don't think you are. And that's okay. She didn't push. Instead, she asked, Did you save the screenshots? Yes. Good. Don't delete them. I wasn't planning to. Another silence. This one heavier. They talk like you're not real anymore, Claire added. Like you're a concept. It's unsettling. After we hung up, I opened my phone and scrolled through the images again. My mother's message. The clean lines. The certainty. Oliver's reply underneath. Neat and obedient. Understood. I opened a new folder and named it Receipts. Not dramatic. Not clever. Just accurate. That night, my mother's name flashed on my screen. Then again the next morning. Then a voicemail. Julia. This distance feels unnecessary, she said. Voice smooth. Families have disagreements. Call me when you're ready to be reasonable. Reasonable. That word again. I listened once. Then I blocked the number. We noticed how quiet that decision was. No confrontation. No announcement. Just a small tap on a screen. Oliver tried later that afternoon. A missed call. A follow-up text. You're overreacting. This doesn't need to be permanent. I blocked him too. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. I felt tired, but clear. At work the next day, I sat with a student named Matteo who kept mixing up his letters. When he finally got through a paragraph without stopping, he looked up like he'd done something impossible. See? I told him, smiling. You stayed with it. That night, I cooked pasta for one and ate it standing at the counter. No background noise. No voices telling me where I fit. I didn't disappear all at once. I just stopped showing up where I wasn't wanted. I met Benjamin on a Tuesday that felt like every other Tuesday. I was leaving a school board meeting later than planned, arms full of folders, when someone held the door open for me. You're going to drop that, he said, nodding at the stack. I always do, I replied, shifting everything higher against my chest. He took the top folder without asking. I'm Benjamin. I work with the district on nonprofit partnerships. Julia, I said, I'm usually more coordinated than this. Everyone says that right before they trip. I smiled. It surprised me. We walked to the parking lot together, talking about nothing important. Traffic. The bad coffee in the lobby. How meetings always ran long when no one wanted to make the final call. A week later, he emailed me an article about literacy programs in rural districts. No commentary, just thought of you. We started getting coffee after meetings, then dinner, then groceries together on Sunday afternoons, arguing quietly over pasta brands. One night, sitting on my couch, he asked, Do you talk to your family much? I stared at the muted television for a moment. Not anymore. He waited. Didn't fill the space. They decided I didn't fit. I added, so I stopped trying to. He nodded once. That sounds exhausting. It was the first time someone didn't ask me to explain further. Work kept moving. I led a pilot literacy program across 3 schools. Teachers were skeptical at first. Parents, too. We tracked progress carefully. After 3 years, Reading proficiency was up 22%. At the presentation, one of the principals leaned over. "You should be louder about this." "I'm not really built that way," I said. Benjamin squeezed my hand under the table. "You don't have to be loud to be solid." We noticed how steady that support was. No urgency, no fixing. Just presence. We got married quietly the following year. A small ceremony. No speeches, just promises that felt doable. Around that time, Claire called with an update I hadn't asked for. "Your mom tells people you're overseas," she said. "Some kind of education work. Africa, I think." I laughed, short and sharp. "Of course she does." "She says it like she's proud," Claire added, like she always knew. After we hung up, I told Benjamin about it while we washed dishes. "They rewrote you," he said, drying a plate, "because the real version made them uncomfortable." I looked around the kitchen, the mismatched mugs, the calendar on the fridge covered in school deadlines. "Let them," I said. "This one's mine." And for a long time, that was enough. The call came on a Thursday afternoon while I was reorganizing a shelf of student files. My phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. "Julia Kensington," a woman asked, crisp but warm. "This is Denise Fowler with the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction." I leaned against the desk. "Yes, I'm calling to let you know you've been selected as a North Carolina Educator of Excellence for this year." The words didn't land right away. I stared at the label on the folder in my hand, read it twice. "I'm sorry," I said. "Could you repeat that?" She laughed softly. "You're being recognized for your work in district literacy development. The ceremony will be held in Raleigh in early May. About 300 educators, live-streamed statewide." After we hung up, I sat down slowly. My hands were steady, but my chest felt tight in a way that wasn't fear, more like disbelief catching up. Benjamin found me that evening at the kitchen table, still in the same spot. "You look like someone told you a secret," he said. I think they did. I told him everything in one breath. He grinned. "That's huge. Don't tell anyone yet," I said. "I need to sit with it." The article went live 2 weeks later anyway. Small headline. My photo. My name spelled right. Claire called that night. "They're talking," she said. "All of them." "Talking how?" "Like you just reappeared." Oliver posted the link in the family chat, wrote, "Isn't this our Julia?" I closed my eyes. Did Mom respond immediately? She called him. She's furious. About what that she didn't know. That she's been telling people you're overseas. That now there's proof you've been here the whole time. We noticed how quickly pride turned into panic. The email came the next morning. "My dear Julia, I always knew you'd find your way. We should celebrate. Family belongs together in moments like this." No apology. No acknowledgement of the silence. Later that day, Claire sent another message. She contacted the ceremony organizers. She wrote, asked about a family speaking segment. She's planning outfits, seating, photos. I read it twice, then handed the phone to Benjamin. "They're not coming to support you," he said quietly. "They're coming to stand next to you." I nodded. The excitement from the call was gone now, replaced by something familiar and tight. Success, apparently, had made me visible again. And visibility, in my family, always came with conditions. I didn't respond to my mother's email. Not right away. Not later. I let it sit there, unopened after the first read, like a letter left on a counter you walk past every day. Benjamin watched me draft my remarks at the kitchen table. I crossed things out, wrote them again, crossed them out once more. "You don't owe anyone an explanation," he said, leaning against the doorway. "I know." I tapped the pen against the paper. "I just need to be clear." "Clear how?" "About who gets named." He nodded. Slow. "Okay." Claire called that night. "You could tell them not to come," she offered. "I'd back you, I know." I stared at the calendar on the fridge. The date circled in red. But then it becomes a story about that. So what are you going to do? I exhaled. I'm going to let them come. There was a pause on the line. And then I'm going to say what's true. We noticed the calm in her voice when she said that. Not confidence. Decision. The morning of the ceremony, I stood in front of the mirror adjusting my jacket. Nothing new, nothing borrowed, just something that fit. Benjamin handed me a mug of coffee. However it goes. He said, I'm right there. I know. I folded my notes once and slipped them into my bag. Not as armor, just as a reminder. If they wanted the stage, they could sit and watch. I wasn't going to stop them from showing up. I just wasn't going to make space. The auditorium in Raleigh smelled like coffee and paper programs, folding chairs in straight lines, a low hum of voices that softened as people found their seats. Benjamin and I took our place near the front. I felt the weight of the notes in my bag, not heavy, just present. When I looked up, I saw my mother glide in from the side aisle, pearls catching the light. Oliver followed, jacket pressed, posture easy. They smiled like they'd arrived on time for something they owned. My mother leaned toward the woman beside her. I'm Julia's mother, she said, voice bright. We're so proud. Oliver's hand landed on the back of my chair. Big day, he murmured. Didn't expect this much attention. Did you? I didn't turn. Please don't do that, I said, keeping my eyes forward. He laughed quietly. Relax. The commissioner stepped up to the podium. Applause rolled, then settled. The introduction was careful in specific years. Classrooms. Teachers who stayed after the bell. When my name was read, Benjamin squeezed my fingers once. I stood. I walked to the microphone and let the room go still. Thank you, I began. Voice steady enough to surprise me. This work is about showing up, even when it's not flashy, even when it's not profitable. A few nods in the front row. Pens moved. Some people measure value by revenue. I continued, others by impact. I've spent my career choosing impact. I thanked my colleagues, the teachers who trusted a new plan, the students who kept trying. I thanked Benjamin for standing where he stands, without conditions. Behind me, a chair scraped. Julia, my mother's voice cut in, practiced and warm. Sweetheart, surely you didn't forget your family. The room shifted. I felt it in my shoulders before I heard it. I paused, breathed. The family portion has concluded. She stepped closer to the aisle. I just want to say how proud I am of raising you. I looked up, finally meeting her eyes. I'm honoring the boundaries that were set for me. A security guard appeared at her side, gentle but firm. She froze, smile thinning. We noticed how the air changed, then not shock. More recognition. Applause started somewhere in the middle. One person, then another. It spread, not loud at first, then sure. I stood there and let it pass through me. After, in the hallway, my mother reached for my arm. You embarrassed us. I stepped back. You turned belonging into a transaction. Oliver exhaled sharply. You made it political. I made it honest. Benjamin's hand found my back. We moved past them, the noise fading behind us. Outside, the sun was bright in a way that felt undeserved and welcome all at once. I took one last breath and smiled, not for the cameras, not for them, but for the quiet certainty that followed me out the door. If this story landed with you, stay a while. Some truths don't need an audience to be real. The weeks after the ceremony were quiet, not empty, just quiet in a way that felt earned. My mother didn't call again. Oliver sent one message that read, "Let's give it time." I didn't respond. Time was already doing its job. Benjamin and I went back to routines, morning coffee, emails, a stack of student reports waiting on my desk. One afternoon, a colleague passed my office and said, "That took courage." I thanked her and kept typing. At home, I stood at the sink one night, rinsing a mug, and realized my shoulders weren't tight anymore. I wasn't bracing for the next comment, the next comparison. The silence had stopped feeling like punishment. I didn't win anything that day. I didn't lose anyone either. I learned where Julia Kensington actually belonged, and it wasn't at a table that needed me smaller. I kept going, teaching, building, choosing the life that fit. If you recognized something in this, you're welcome to stay and listen. We're here, quietly, for stories like hers.